I want a divorce. My girlfriend, 20 years younger than me, is pregnant. Suddenly, my husband brought his girlfriend home and asked for a divorce. Our marriage had been in shambles for a long time. To be honest, I no longer loved my husband, who didn't help me in the house or even with the kids. Instead, he was always out having fun. Here's the divorce paper. I'll take the kids with me, but Kevin, I declared as I handed the paper to my husband. Then, he said something shocking. What? Take Kevin too? I couldn't believe it. No way, because Kevin is. When I confronted him with the truth, my husband became very upset and just stood there in shock. My name is Mary, and I am 51 years old. I am a stay-at-home wife. I married my husband, John, 14 years ago. We met through a mutual friend. I used to work as a web designer at a website production company, dedicated to my work and been single for many years. A friend, who was worried about me, introduced me to John. John was friendly and a good conversationalist. Haven't had much dating experience, I found my time with him very enjoyable and thought I could build a happy family with him. However, the path to our marriage wasn't easy. John was divorced with a child. His ex-wife left the home, leaving the child with him, so he was a single working father. When I told my family and friends about this, they all said I should walk away from the relationship with him. You'll struggle if you marry him. Everyone unanimously gave me this advice. But their advice only ignited my love. I thought I was the only person who could support John. Since then, I tried to bond with his son, Kevin. Kevin, what do you want to do today? I don't want to play with you. How about we eat something? I can cook anything you like. No thanks. Kevin never warmed up to me. I wondered if I was failing because I had no experience with children. Whenever I felt insecure, John always reassured me. Don't worry. Kevin will understand someday. Thank you for caring about my son so much. His words made me happy, and I didn't mind Kevin's rejection. I'll love him like my own child when we're married. I'm so glad to have met someone who would love Kevin as her own. Looking back, maybe I was conceited, thinking I was providing emotional support for John. 6 months into our relationship, I found out I was pregnant and we got married. Our daughter, Lily, was born, followed by our son, Mike, the next year, making me a mother of 3. Having 2 babies back to back, I was busy with parenting. However, John never helped. Hey, honey, Mike is crying. Can you please soothe him? I'm busy right now. What, me? No way, the kids prefer their mom, right? While I was taking care of our daughter, John, absorbed in his cell phone, would unhesitatingly pass our crying son to me. He always came home late, often drunk. On his days off, he would leave in the morning and return home in the evening, leaving no time for family, let alone parenting. And there I was, with hardly any sleep, constantly caring for the children. The stress just kept accumulating. Could you help out a little? What? I'm tired from work. You just stay home all day and still complaining? Parenting is a woman's job. I couldn't believe what he said. I wouldn't have married him if I had known he was like this. I felt deceived. But, with newborn children, divorce wasn't an easy option for me. Taking care of my restless son and our daughter in her terrible twos was incredibly challenging. Still, I tried my best to be a good mother. I still couldn't bond with our eldest son, who hardly spoke to me. I would wake him up in the morning and feed him breakfast before school, but we barely talked. With the younger kids needing so much attention, I had little time left for our eldest. Years passed. As our eldest son entered middle school, he became rebellious. Kevin. Have you finished your homework, or are you just playing games? Shut up. I'm saying this for your own good. That's what's annoying me. Stop acting like my mom. He was constantly rude, never listening to me. I decided to talk to John about it. Could you talk to Kevin? He's always playing games, not studying, and never listens to anything I say. That's your fault. He doesn't listen to you because of your bad parenting. You've always neglected him. What? How dare you to say that? You never help me with anything, and you're never home. You think I was just out having fun? John got infuriated and stood up. Yes. You're always out drinking. You never give me a hand, even when I'm busy. I have to socialize with my colleagues. Don't act all high and mighty while you're living off me. I was left speechless. I had to quit my job because it was too demanding. We lived solely on the money John provided, which was just the bare minimum. Our budget was always tight. And I had no money of my own to spend. So, whenever he brought up the topic of money, I was left speechless. However, our eldest son's behavior was getting worse. He would stay out late at night, although he was only a teenager. I feared he might end up involved in serious delinquency. I tried hard to persuade our eldest son and John, but they wouldn't listen. John and I would often end up fighting. Then, he started staying away from home more often. This situation continued for years. I was over 50, and our eldest son was in his senior year of high school. I had hoped we could understand each other once his rebellious phase was over, but that wasn't the case. He either ignored me or responded with rude remarks. We couldn't have a proper conversation. John began coming home in the mornings, and our marital relationship was in shambles. Then, one day, John brought a young woman home. Who is this? My girlfriend. She is 20 years younger than me, and pregnant, so I want a divorce. He said, looking straight at me. I wasn't surprised to hear about his affair. I had suspected it for a long time. But I couldn't believe how selfish he was to bring his girlfriend to our home, where our children lived. His girlfriend smiled at me. Nice to meet you, I'm Amy. I was amazed at her for smiling at me. She was 35, 20 years younger than John. She was dressed in revealing clothes and wore heavy makeup. A stark contrast to me with my increasing wrinkles. I can't find you attractive anymore, and as a father, I want to take responsibility for the unborn baby. I'm sorry, but we need to divorce. I reached my limit with these two selfish people. I had endured for the sake of our children, but I no longer loved John. While I struggled, he was out having fun. I decided to let him realize what I had endured, and planned my revenge. John pleaded with me, which was very unusual for him, and I nodded in agreement. Okay. What? Really? He was surprised by my quick agreement. Of course. Here's the divorce paper. I'll take everyone with me but our eldest son. My words made John frown in confusion. What? Take Kevin with you as well. I couldn't believe what he said. That's impossible since he's not my son. We're not biologically related, and we don't even get along. So what? You said you'd love him like your own son. Yes, I did. I treated him like a real family member. I never made a distinction between him and the other kids. And I cared for him in my own way. Then take responsibility for him until the end. John's girlfriend chimed in. He's right. I don't want to be a mother of an adolescent. You should just take care of him until he becomes 18. Our eldest son was in the house, surely hearing this conversation. He never really warmed up to me during his rebellious phase, but I still felt sorry for him. You're his biological father. It's your responsibility to take care of him. What? You're such a heartless woman. Who's the heartless one here? You've never lifted a finger for parenting. If you don't take responsibility as a father, I'm not divorcing you. John scratched his head irritably. And then he sighed heavily. All right. I'll take care of Kevin. What? I can't be the mother of such a big kid. Sorry, but it's just for a few more years. Just be patient. Fine, I'll let you off if you buy me a new bag from my favorite brand. John, grinning foolishly, agreed. In front of this couple, who looked like they might start being affectionate at any moment, I presented the divorce paper. Can you sign this now? I need to take it in tomorrow. All right. You're such an impatient woman. He signed it, grumbling. I carefully put the signed divorce paper in my purse. What about you? Will you be okay after the divorce? No job, no place to live. It's going to be tough for the kids. He was smirking, probably thinking I was just a simple housewife with no savings. Thank you for your concern, but I have a job, so I'll be fine. What? You got a job? But it must be a part-time job, right? You can't survive on your meager income. It's not a part-time job. I resumed my web design work. I can just work from home. Last month, I made over $3,000. So I'm not worried about living expenses. Really? He seemed frustrated. Years ago, I used my savings to buy a computer. And I started working from home as a web designer. Having experiences, I was offered a few jobs, and I began saving for the day I might divorce. That was why I was ready to file for divorce so quickly. Oblivious to this, my husband was under the delusion that he had the upper hand, which I found amusing. But are you two going to be all right? What do you mean? The child support. I'll need it for Lily and Mike until they become 18. John's face turned sour. It would be his responsibility to pay as their father, regardless of the divorce. We'll discuss the amount through my lawyer and get you to sign the child support agreement. I'm thinking about $400 a month for both. $400 a month? That's too much. What are you talking about? They're already in their teens, and there are expenses for club activities, tutoring, and such. That's not even counting food and utilities. It's hardly enough. I had no idea. He never involved himself in the household finances. The expenses for Lily and Mike's sports activities, like shoes, uniforms, practice gear, and travel for tournaments, add up. Even $200 per child each month was hardly sufficient. I hope your girlfriend understands what I'm about to say. What? I smiled at John's girlfriend. For compensation, you know? Since the affair has been going on for years, I expect to be compensated. Though I need to consult with my lawyer. It's likely to be around $30,000, so be prepared. What? I didn't know about this. You're an adult. You should have known. By the way, I have all the evidence I need, so playing dumb won't help. When John stopped coming home, I hired a private detective to gather evidence of his affair. I already knew about his relationship with this woman and had the photos to prove it. There was no escaping the evidence. She was definitely having a sexual relationship with John since she was pregnant, so there's no escaping for her. However, unwilling to accept the truth, she panicked. I don't have that kind of money. I don't even have savings, and we're about to have a baby. That's not my problem. If you can't pay me, ask the man sitting next to you. She grabbed John's shoulder, shaking him. You'll pay for this, right? I'll have to pay for the child support, and that's all I can afford. You need to deal with the compensation. Why me? You're the one earning. Just pay for it. I've spent all my money on your presents. Do you know how much I've spent on you? Are you kidding me? You're useless. I wouldn't even go out with you if I'd known that you were broke. The atmosphere between them had turned sour, a stark contrast to their earlier demeanor. It seemed she was just after his money. Why else would she be with a man in his mid-50s? John was at fault for cheating while married. But she was equally guilty for continuing the relationship when she knew that he was married. I couldn't let her off without compensation. I thought you said you'd provide me with everything I wanted, and that was why I agreed to marry you. I'm not paying for any compensation. Well, it's up to you. If you refuse to pay, I'll consult my lawyer and see you in court. Mentioning a court made her jump up, panicked. I can't do this. I don't want to be in debt for being in relationship with an old man like your husband. I especially hate the idea of becoming a mother to such a big kid. I'm out of here. Wait. His girlfriend grabbed her purse and fled through the front door. John tried to stop her but ended up falling on his backside. It was very comical. Oops, she ran away. It's not oops. This is all your fault. He got up, furious. What? You're going to hit me? I'll call the police. You You'll be punished for your interfering with my relationship with her. I burst out laughing at his words. I will be punished? Then you'll be punished for neglecting your family. He fell silent, glaring at me. He clearly hadn't fully grasped the situation yet. I decided to drop another bombshell on him. Just so you know, the payment of Kevin's university fees is due this week. So don't forget that. What? Kevin's starting university this September. You need to pay his tuition fees since you're taking care of him, right? He looked utterly bewildered. John, who had neglected our eldest son for years, probably had no idea about his university plans or tuition costs. How much is it, anyway? It's about $12,000 for a private university. $12,000? There's no way I can afford that. Well, that's just for the first year. From the second year, it'll be around $10,000 each year for tuition fees. Good luck with that. No way. I too was surprised at first, as I myself went to a public university and wasn't aware of the high costs of private ones. John, also graduated from a public university, probably hadn't expected it to be so expensive. Why did you let him go to such an expensive university? It's not my fault. I told Kevin to study, but he wouldn't listen, and you never did anything when I consulted you. So you just enrolled him in any university. I can't approve that. Then talk to him yourself. He's the one who decided to go to that university. John fell silent. He probably didn't know how to interact with Kevin anyway, having neglected him all these years. I wasn't going to worry about them. We'll be packing our things and leaving, then. As I stood up to leave, John suddenly tried to stop me. Wait. Let's try again. What are you talking about? I've thought it over. For the kid's sake, it's better not to divorce. He looked serious. But I knew his words were just excuses. You just don't want to pay child support and compensation, right? I can't stay with you. Why not? I've broken up with my girlfriend, and I won't cheat again. Let's start over. That's absolutely impossible. I couldn't imagine living with someone who neglected parenting and impregnated someone 20 years younger. I don't think you understand. I agreed to divorce you, not because you asked for it. Then, why? I've wanted to divorce you for a long time. I just didn't have the money to do it until now. I've been saving up from my job. And it was just the right timing. Oh, no. John was speechless. Did he really think I still loved him? I wasn't a saint who could continue to love someone who had treated us so terribly. But the kids need both parents. Divorce will be bad for them. It was when John said that. Our eldest daughter and second son, who had been listening to our conversation, burst out of their bedrooms. I don't want to live with someone like you. Me neither. Lily. Mike. You shouldn't be saying things like that to your parent. The kids came to my side, glaring at their father. Don't act like my dad now. You're disgusting, cheating all the time. I don't want to have someone like you as my dad. We'd rather live on our own than live with you. You too. The shock was more apparent on John's face than anger. He stood there, mouth agape, unable to respond. Don't underestimate us just because we're kids. We can see and judge what adults do. Did you really think we'd still love you just because you're our dad? I was wrong, okay? Forgive me. I'll do anything. I'll buy you anything you want, take you out, whatever. We don't need any of that. I don't even want to see your face. Hearing these words from the kids, John finally gave up. He must have thought he could bribe his teenage kids with gifts. It was obvious that he underestimated them. They'd been aware of my struggles since they were in elementary school and had always been concerned. They wouldn't easily forgive their father. We packed our bags and left without saying a word to John. Eventually, we divorced. Now, he must be struggling with the payments for the compensation and child support. Apparently, his girlfriend also had his baby and is demanding child support from him. Given that the baby was just born, he'll have to keep working even after retiring from his current job. His decision to get involved with a younger woman was foolish indeed. Moreover, since he never did household chores, his house is in chaos. He can't even do laundry properly, wearing wrinkled shirts, and is now shunned by colleagues and neighbors. Abandoned by both his children and his girlfriend, and without any money to spend, he's like a broken man. But that's no longer my concern. Meanwhile, we started our new life. Lily. Mike. You'll be late for your school. Coming. They both hurried to the entrance, backpacks on their shoulders. Kevin. You'll be late too. I know, stop nagging. Kevin, our eldest son, dressed in his suit, headed to the front door. On the day of our divorce, when we were packing to leave, I found Kevin standing in the hallway. He must have been listening to everything. Unable to leave him, I asked, "What do you want to do?" He decided to come with us. Honestly, paying for his university would be a financial stretch for me. But I couldn't abandon him. He was a victim too. Rejected by his biological father and neglected due to my preoccupation with the younger kids, he had a tough time. Kevin, who acted out in his school days, was greatly affected by our family environment. His father was always out and busy. I was overwhelmed with the younger ones. He was alone when he needed affection the most. I couldn't abandon him. When we arrived at our new apartment, Kevin said he'd quit university and work instead. "I don't need you to pay for me. I'll get a job." While I appreciated what he said, I doubted he could find a decent job with just a high school diploma. So, I made a suggestion. "Why don't you study programming?" Programming? Yes. In this internet age, knowing programming could secure a good job. Study hard for a year, then try for a job. I'll cover our living expenses until then. Hearing my suggestion, Kevin surprisingly agreed and diligently studied. In just 6 months, he was skilled enough to get a job, and this year, he was employed as a full-time programmer. My children, in their suits and uniforms, were making noise at the entrance. "Don't talk to Mom like that. It's not nice. Whoever complains won't get a ride in the car." "No way. Please take me. Don't get into an accident, bro." Previously, Lily and Mike were afraid of Kevin and barely spoke to him, but now they have gotten used to their older brother. After putting on their shoes, the three of them turned to look at me. "See you later." They left the house. I never imagined such a day would come. I finally feel like Kevin and I have become a family. I swore to myself to work hard for the happiness of my children. Don't you know someone like this? Women who, in front of men they like or aim to impress, raise their voice tone and easily say things that are not their true feelings. She's what you might call a wolf in sheep's clothing. While this may be a form of flattery, it's a different story if they completely change their behavior depending on the situation or the person they're dealing with. Two-faced people always end up causing harm to someone behind the scenes. The story I'm about to tell is about an experience I had as a victim. My name is Emily. 7 years ago, I was discussing marrying my boyfriend of 3 years, Bob, who was the same age as me. And we were planning to have our wedding in the fall. At that time, we found out his older brother Nathan was also planning to get married around the same period. Although it was a happy coincidence to have such events overlap, we thought it might be best to avoid the same time frame considering the financial burden on those invited. After discussing, it was decided that Nathan, being the eldest, would have his wedding first. And so, Nancy, 2 years younger than me, became my sister-in-law. Nancy was very kind and treated me like a younger sister. I thought we would get along well after the wedding. However, her attitude changed drastically 6 months after her marriage. It happened on the day Bob and I, who had married later than the elder couple, returned from our domestic honeymoon and visited his parents' house. Grandma, Bob and Emily are back from their honeymoon. When my mother-in-law and called out loudly, the person who emerged from the back room was my 80-year-old grandmother-in-law Sarah, who lives with my in-laws. "Bob, Emily, welcome back," she greeted us. "I brought back some cookies that you like, Sarah," I said. As I gave the souvenir to Sarah, she smiled happily. "Bob, you really found a great wife. You even considered me, an older woman, during your wedding." It was a dignified ceremony with just family. And the meal was traditional American cuisine. It's rare for young people these days, she praised us. We were enjoying a family gathering at my in-laws' house for the first time since our marriage. Ding dong. That's when Nancy arrived. Oh, everyone's here having a good time, she remarked. Nancy, you came at just the right time. Right now, Bob and Emily have just brought back souvenirs from their honeymoon. Would you like to join us for some cookies? And invited. But Nancy declined, saying, "Oh, I'll pass. I just came to drop off the invitation for your birthday party, Anne. I have some errands to run. So I'll be leaving now," and quickly left. I followed her out. "Here's a souvenir." "Sorry, it's nothing special." As I handed her the paper bag filled with sweets, she peeked inside and said with a laugh, "Well, this looks like something you could buy at any train station shop." "I'm sorry." Nancy seemed to have a sharp edge to her words today. I wondered what was going on. I thought maybe I had done something to upset her, but I couldn't think of anything. Maybe she was just in a bad mood. But I was left feeling unsettled. 2 weeks later. When we went to the restaurant Nancy had reserved for Anne's birthday celebration, we found my in-laws, Nathan and Nancy waiting. Huh? I was puzzled by the absence of Sarah. Just as I was about to ask, Nancy interrupted me and asked her father-in-law Tom. "Now that everyone's here, Tom, could you please say a few words for the toast?" After we finished the course meal and it was time for dessert, Nancy said. "And this is a birthday present from Nathan and me," Nancy said, handing over a box. Upon opening it, Anne revealed a bag with the logo of a high-end brand. "Oh. Should I really accept such an expensive gift?" she wondered. "We thought it would be perfect for our stylish mom," Nancy explained. Nancy, who had just given Anne the luxurious bag, had also gifted a watch to Tom for his birthday 3 months earlier. Seeing Anne's joy, Nancy's satisfied gaze turned towards me. "Emily, you've prepared something too, haven't you?" she asked. "Yes, I have. It's a bit embarrassing to follow your extravagant gifts, though." When Anne opened the package I handed her, she exclaimed, "Oh, how wonderful. Did you make this by yourself, Emily?" "Yes, I enjoy sewing. I had gifted a handmade apron." Recalling she once saying, "I wonder if there's a more stylish apron out there," I made an apron tailored to her tastes. "Thank you. This is exactly what I wanted." "More than anything, the fact that you made it by hand means so much to me," said Anne, delighted. Hearing this, Nancy, who had been listening, smiled and said, "Emily, you're so talented with your hands, I'm envious. Teach me sometime, okay?" Relieved that my handmade gift wasn't a bother, I excused myself to the restroom. While washing my hands, I felt a gaze and looked up to see Nancy glaring at me in the mirror. "There's no need to be so surprised," she said. "Sorry, I didn't realize you were there. Tell me, Emily, about that birthday gift? Did you really think Anne would be pleased with something like that? A handmade apron is so old-fashioned and childish." "It's just too dowdy," Nancy sneered with a mocking laugh. "Ah, I can't stand it. Being around you makes me feel like the poverty is rubbing off on me," she complained. Saying this, she pinched her nose and made a gesture as if waving away a bad smell before leaving the restroom. From that point on, Nancy's behavior towards me changed. She was pleasant in front of the family, but hostile when we were alone. Discussing it with Bob yielded little help. He simply advised me to ignore her. Despite this, I continued visiting my in-laws, especially to see Sarah, who always looked forward to my visits. Recently, I hadn't run into Nancy much, which was a relief. Then one day, Nancy messaged me, saying I had something to report. On the agreed day, at the in-laws' house, Nancy was cheerfully chatting with my in-laws alone. Nancy is having a baby, a boy, and shared happily. It seemed they already knew about Nancy's pregnancy, but she wanted to inform Bob and me now that she was in her safe period. While my in-laws were overjoyed, I felt mixed emotions and excused myself to make tea in the kitchen. Overhearing their conversation, I caught Nancy saying, "Actually, I have a favor to ask." "What is it?" "Don't hesitate," Tom encouraged. Nathan and I were discussing, and once our child is born, we were wondering if we could move in here. We also propose a remodel as it might become a bit cramped with the new addition to the family. Of course, we'll cover the costs, she suggested humbly. Sensing an ulterior motive, I felt uneasy. Tom, unaware of her intentions, replied, "We appreciate your thought, but it might make things awkward. You should build your own house, we'd gladly help with the finances." Yes, indeed. Hearing this, Nancy responded, "Really? Are you sure? That's a pity. I was actually looking forward to living together." This probably went exactly as Nancy had planned. She came over to where I was in the kitchen and said with a smug look, "You heard, didn't you? The conversation just now. Tom's going to fund my new house." She then casually mentioned that she never intended to live with the in-laws from the start. Now, my future is secure. A husband with a prestigious job, a new house, a son on the way, and the in-laws on my side. It's unfortunate for you, aligning yourself with that older woman, she taunted. What? I asked, puzzled. I mean Sarah. Being friendly with her won't get you anywhere. Unable to contain myself, I raised my voice, "Nancy. That's not a nice thing to say." "Shh. Don't be so loud, everyone will hear," she cautioned. Then Nancy whispered in my ear. "God must be watching over me. He made sure that I would have a child first." Huh? I didn't immediately grasp the meaning of her words, but then something clicked. But why did Nancy know about that? It was supposed to be a secret known only to Bob and Sarah. Suddenly, Sarah appeared. "What are you two talking about?" "Oh, nothing at all," Nancy quickly replied with a fake smile and hurried back to the living room. Sarah said, "Emily, would you like to have some tea in my room?" Once inside, she double-checked that no one else was around and asked, "Emily, did Nancy say something mean to you?" Sarah. She revealed that she had started to suspect Nancy's true nature. When I mentioned that Nancy knew about my miscarriage, she said, "She must have eavesdropped on our conversation in this room." I had only told Bob and Sarah about my pregnancy, intending to keep it hidden until the safe period, fearing what Nancy might do if she found out. Unfortunately, I miscarried. Nancy had deliberately called me to the in-laws' house to announce her pregnancy. It seemed like she was mocking me. Unforgivable. Not wanting to worry my elderly grandmother-in-law Sarah, I had refrained from telling her about Nancy's behavior. But now I confessed everything to her. Sarah held my hand and reassured me, "It's okay, Emily. Leave the rest to this older lady," with a smile. Months later, Nancy approached her due date and gave birth to a baby boy at a hospital near her parents' home. I gave Nathan a monetary gift for the occasion, but I also sent a separate congratulatory gift to Nancy's parents' house. Though it should have arrived by then, I hadn't received any response. In front of Sarah and in-laws, I called Nancy. "What? Are you calling to demand a thank you? Sending such cheap, handmade baby clothes? How stingy can you be?" Nancy immediately started ranting loudly as soon as she answered the call. I switched the call to speaker mode. "I threw that stuff away a long time ago, so send something like a stroller instead." After letting her finish, I revealed the truth. "Nancy, did you check what was inside? It was from Tom." Yes, I did, sew the baby clothes, but Tom asked me to." The name embroidered on the chest was done by Tom and Anne. "Didn't you read the letter I included?" No way, you're joking, right?" Nancy's previously bold voice gradually diminished, turning into a murmur. "Emily, can you hold on a second?" she asked. I overheard a conversation from her end. "Mom, where did you put that bag I threw away?" "What bag? What was in it? Just check the contents properly." Despite Nancy's attempt to muffle the phone, her conversation with her mother was clearly audible. "Emily, I'm sorry, there was a misunderstanding." Nancy's voice suddenly softened. "It seems my mother mistook it for trash and threw it away. Tom and Anne would be upset if they knew." She continued to make excuses, ultimately asking me to make the same baby clothes again. "Emily, I apologize for being hard on you before. But you know, it wasn't out of malice. So please, just this once, think of it as helping me. Despite her previous harsh words, she changed her tone completely, now that things weren't going her way. Understood. Considering Tom and Anne's feelings, I'll fulfill your request just this once. I replied and then ended the call. This should make it clear, right? This is her true nature. Listening in, Sarah turned to my in-laws and said. In fact, before giving birth, Nancy had claimed she was feeling unwell and did not attend Sarah's birthday party. At that time, Sarah had revealed Nancy's true nature to my in-laws and Nathan. Can't believe Nancy would. The skeptical in-laws, having confirmed the content of the phone conversation, were convinced. To their dismay, they learned that the clothes, lovingly made by the family, had been callously discarded in the trash by Nancy. Seizing an unexpected opportunity, I grasped Nancy's vulnerability, turning the tables in my favor. Then, a month later, unaware of everything, Nancy arrived at our in-laws' house with Nathan and their newborn child. It was the first meeting between the grandparents and their new grandson, and we, the couple, greeted them as if nothing was amiss. How adorable. Does he have my mouth? His eyebrows look just like mine. Watching my parents-in-law adoring their grandchild, I felt the warmth of family. Thank you, Tom and Anne, and also Emily, for the cute baby clothes. Look, they fit perfectly. Nancy put the baby clothes I had remade on her baby. She wore a look of triumph. Indeed, they fit perfectly, Anne said. As Anne looked on happily, Nancy smiled at me. At that moment, Anne, closely observing her grandchild, said with a puzzled look, That's strange. What's wrong? Nancy asked. This baby outfit. I thought the embroidery wasn't done so neatly before. Or am I imagining things? Anne wondered, tilting her head. Yes, and it was beautifully sewn from the start, Nancy reassured her. Right, it was. Ahaha. Relieved that Nancy had averted a crisis, she relaxed. Soon after, Sarah cheerfully said, Let me hold my great-grandchild. But Nancy snapped, Don't touch with your dirty hands, pushing away her hand. This reflexive action revealed Nancy's disdain for Sarah. Flustered by her own true nature showing, Nancy quickly tried to apologize. Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. Despite her desperate attempt at explanation, she was met with icy stares from everyone. Well, it's all right, Sarah said, the only one smiling. Sometimes, trying to maintain a facade only leads to your true colors showing unexpectedly, doesn't it, Nancy? Nancy was taken aback. Oh dear, I might have said something I shouldn't have, said Sarah with a hint of sarcasm. Even Nancy, usually so confident, was visibly taken aback by this remark. Feeling cornered and at a disadvantage, Nancy quickly suggested, Sarah, may I host your birthday party again? I couldn't attend the last one because I was unwell. There it is. Her classic maneuver, the flip-flop. Shall I reserve a French restaurant? It should be nice, right? Nancy approached, rubbing her hands together eagerly. No, I prefer homemade meals over eating out. I'd love to try Nancy's cooking, Sarah countered. Are you not good at cooking, Nancy? Yes, I can manage that. Of course, I'll prepare it, said Nancy, who was quick to boast at the time. However, she later called me with a request. Actually, I have a favor to ask. Hoping for help with the cooking. Just like with the baby clothes, she probably thought I would bail her out, but I wasn't going to let that happen. Sorry, Nancy, but I can't help you with that. Sarah has tasted my cooking before, and she'll immediately realize if it's not mine. If you can't cook, why not just be honest about it? Resigned to my unexpected refusal to help, Nancy responded, okay, and hung up the phone. Then, a birthday celebration for Sarah, including Nancy, was held again. The table was adorned with luxurious dishes. Did Nancy make all of this? Sarah asked, feigning ignorance. Yes, I hope it suits your taste. Considering it's Nancy, it's likely she did what she had to do. Unable to admit she couldn't cook, she likely just ordered high-end dishes and replated them. Perhaps relieved at saving face, she offered a gift to Sarah, saying, "Sarah, it's not much, but please accept this. Wow, this looks like an expensive dress. But it's too fancy for me to wear. I'm sorry, but could you return it to the store? Didn't you like it? If not, I can find something else for you." Confused by the rejected gift, Nancy turned to hear Sarah say, "Nancy, would you consider living with us here? That would be the best gift." If you do that, we can enjoy Nancy's delicious cooking every day." Live together? I thought you said that wasn't necessary. Right, Tom? Nancy was utterly shaken by the unexpected words from Sarah. "It's just something I thought of now. Besides, Nancy was planning to move in too, right? Is there any problem with that?" After about 10 seconds of silence, Nancy spoke up. "I'm sorry. I actually can't cook at all. But I couldn't refuse Grandma's request, so I ordered a variety of dishes and brought them here." "Oh, I see. You should have just been honest with us from the start." "Yes, I'm sorry." She apologized for the cooking mishap, seeming eager to avoid any further discussion about moving in, but Sarah pressed on. "Don't worry. The idea of moving in was just a joke." "What? It was a joke?" A look of relief appeared on Nancy's face, but Sarah's attack was unexpected. "Listen to the whole story first. I think it's too early to be relieved. I'd like you not to cross the threshold of this house again. If you can't enter the house, there's no way you could move in, right? Do you understand?" Then, Nancy's husband, Nathan, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Nancy, you need to apologize to Emily. Throwing away the clothes she made for the kids. What you did was terrible. Both as a person and as a mother. It was the first time I saw usually quiet Nathan get angry." Apologize. But I didn't do anything wrong." Nancy still refused to admit her wrongdoing. Now it was my turn to deliver the final blow. "Nancy, everything has been exposed. Shall I show you the evidence?" I showed her my phone. "Here, our entire conversation is recorded. Would you like to listen?" As I was about to press the button on my phone, she shouted, "Stop," and snatched the phone from my hand. "Wah, wah." Startled by her voice, the child sleeping in the next room started crying loudly. "What? Everyone is ganging up on me. I'm the one who should be crying. Wah. Seriously?" Nancy, too, began to cry along with the child. Everyone was taken aback by this. "Nancy, enough is enough. Aren't you ashamed of behaving like a child? Just leave, please." Perhaps it should be said that a word from Nathan silenced the room. Unable to respond, Nancy left the house. The tables had turned on the deceptive Nancy, ending with Nathan giving up on her. Afterwards, Nancy, formally divorced by Nathan, jobless and without savings, demanded alimony in exchange for handing over custody to him. However, Nancy's parents, being sensible, fully apologized for their daughter's behavior and offered to pay the alimony, saying, "It's us who should be paying it." Nancy, taken back to her parents' house, frequently sent messages to Nathan, complaining about how tough her sister-in-law at her parents' home was and how unbearable living with her was. Nathan, fed up with her lack of concern for their child, replied with, "You reap what you sow," and blocked her on his phone. Nathan, living with his son at his parents' home, soon remarried. "Please call me Jenny," said the new sister-in-law, who is 1 year older and is such a kind and cheerful person. "My nephew has become completely fond of her too. Thanks to my in-laws' consideration, they now live in an apartment near the family home, as a family of 3. Meanwhile, blessed with 2 daughters, we moved into my in-laws' home in place of Nathan's family. Although my in-laws had said they didn't need to live with us, they now enjoy watching their grandchildren grow up close by. The godmother of my 2 daughters is Sarah. She suggested flower names for them, choosing Cherry and a Lily. Sarah is celebrating her 88th birthday this year. Today, she's sitting on the porch, watching her great-grandchildren play in the sandbox. "Great-grandma, here's some apple pies," my daughters offer, presenting their mud pies. "Thank you. It's delicious, Sarah laughs, deepening her wrinkles even more. Watching this adorable scene from the shadows, I whispered. Sarah, please live a long life and continue to watch over these children as they grow.